I always like to be accidentally tarking when it starts like that. Hello, everyone. I'm Aaron. I'm here with the Azure CLI team. I think it's been a while since we've done one of these, and the last time we did one, it was because I forced the team to do one. But I actually thought that one went pretty well. But since it's been a while, I figured we should do some introductions again because this is the first. We'll just call this the first one. And what we plan on doing is doing a community stand-up. It's meant for people who want to contribute to the repository. It's meant for customers who just want to find out what the new features are. It's meant for customers who may want to ask questions, things like that. But we invite people to join live, watch, and ask questions. I'll check out the questions towards the end, and we'll try to answer some of those. And then we also post the video to YouTube, so you can share it if we talk about something cool that you want to share with some of your colleagues or friends or anything like that. But we'll probably do these bi-monthly, so every other month or so. And we're just going to try to talk about some of the cool things that we've done in the last 2 months, and then talk about some of the things that we plan on doing moving forward. So let's go ahead and do introductions real quick. We'll start with the Derek room. So if you guys want to go ahead and start, go for it.
Okay, cool. So my name is Derek, and I'm a software engineer on the Azure CLI team. A few things I'm going to maybe demo to do with extensions and profiles and that kind of thing.
Hi, everyone. My name is Troy. I'm also an engineer on the team. I have nothing to demo today. I'm basically in the background.
That's totally cool. That's fine.
Hi, I'm Mayuri. I'm the engineering manager on the Azure CLI team, and my team is going to demo a lot of things. I'm just plant in the corner.
That's kind of how Scott does it as well, so it's perfect.
Hi, my name.
Go ahead, go for it.
Okay.
You're up.
Yeah, first time from Julia. My name is Yudong, so I'm an engineer in the CLI team. Today, I will spend a couple minutes to demo the simplified Azure VM create and image list experience.
Hi, my name is Ernest. I'm an intern in the Azure CLI team, and today I'm going to demo the new alias features in Azure CLI.
Hey guys, I'm Willie. I'm also an engineer on the team. I'll be demoing interactive mode in our CLI. Should be pretty cool. Looking forward to it.
Awesome. Cool. So yeah, you guys, I forgot how many demos that we scheduled. I think I am scheduled to start, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen real quick. Oh man, my Control Plus isn't working. The Control Shift Plus? Oh, on Windows, it's Control Shift Plus in this terminal. Cool. So let me share my screen here. Can you guys see my screen okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. How's the size? Let's go up to like 30. How's that look? So I apologize. I'm on Windows, and I've normally got a pretty sweet Oh My Bash setup with a power line, and it just doesn't look good on Windows, but I do it anyway in spite. So it's got a little bit of weirdness going on, but other than that, it works fairly well. So what I'm going to do, just because this is our first one, is talk about some overarching features of the CLI. It is very much text-based. So if you've used Git or Docker or kube control or any other super popular development command line utility, the CLI is designed to be idiomatic to those types of experiences. So, some of your text piping and things like that are going to be very similar to some of these other command line utilities that you've used before. For any viewers who have seen this before, I'm hoping this will only take about 5 to 10 minutes, and then we'll get on to the new stuff. But we did kind of want to start out with a little bit of an overview for people who, may not know much about the CLI, and this would be a good video for them to start with. So with that, I'm actually going to cheat a little bit and pull this over, and we're just going to search for Azure CLI docs. And this is just a shout out to our doc team here at Microsoft. Our docs are pretty awesome, in my opinion. And so if you're ever wanting to get started with the CLI, Maybe you use PowerShell. Maybe you are coming from a different cloud. Maybe this is your first time to try out Azure and you want to get started with the CLI. This is where we recommend that you start. And it's really simple, Azure CLI docs. I'm not going to give you the whole URL string because it's a pretty simple search. We kind of have this getting started page, a little bit of just a very general, like this is what a simple command looks like. And Yugon's going to go a little bit more in depth into that in a little bit. But the one thing that we do want to note is all of the install mechanisms. The CLI is designed to be here's how I'm going to put it: aggressively cross-platform. So we have an MSI for Windows, a brew install for Mac. We've got packages for popular distros, and then we've got a generic Linux install script if you don't use a package manager for one of these distros. And then we also have a Docker container. Personally, I use the Docker container all the time. You can also access the CLI using the Cloud Shell. So if you go to shell.azure.com or portal.azure.com, you can bring that up. And you'll see this will actually use the credentials in my browser and give me a Cloud Shell here in about 30 seconds. So please check out these install methods, or if you don't want to install anything, check out the Cloud Shell real quick. Shell.azure.com. Everything else that you want to start to learn about is going to be in Get Started. So Get Started will give you lots of information about the general design of how the CLI works. And then we have more in-depth articles about how to log in or how to create service principals, interactive mode, different deployments, our output formats, which I'll show in a second, our queries, which I'll show in a second. And then we have a few other features that I'll show. But again, I'm going to try to keep this as short as possible so that we can move on to the new stuff. So like those docs show, the CLI is very much a functional coverage of Azure. So almost everything that you would like to try to do, we will cover in different command groups. You'll see we do have some things that are in preview, and you can just use AZ-H to see our help. Say I want to use some type of VM feature, I can also do AZ-VM-H in VM and see the different subgroups available to the VM commands, and then also commands that I can do on VM. So I might want to do AZ-VM create. So in that case, I could do AZ-VM create-H. You'll start to see a pattern here, but we'll have a listing of all of the different parameters that you can use. And then also a few examples. So we've got, super simple examples like this, all the way down to much more complex examples, maybe with assigning identities or, assigning, what is this? Oh, we're grabbing a secret from a key vault and then using that as the password for the, oh no, here's a certificate. And then we use that and we pass those secrets to the VM so that we can log in. So there's some advanced examples here as well. With that, there's pretty good tab completion. So if I type AZVM cree and I hit tab, I can get tab completion over the commands themselves. And then I can also get tab completion over the parameters as well. So here's a -- resource group. So I just type -- RE, hit tab, and then I can also get tab completion over those resource groups. So I'll just give it a second here. I just hit tab over that. Oops, I accidentally hit it one extra time. But I can see my resource group names. And then obviously if I start typing one, I can tab over those resource groups. We also do tab completion over more static things. So like image, you can see popular image names here. I may have hit tab too many times again. Okay, I didn't. Or if I start typing one again, I can tab over that as well. One thing that I love about our docs, I don't want to actually create anything right now, but I'll bring this doc page up. If there's something that that we do, maybe we've talked about it in one of these community stand-ups, or you heard about it at Build, or you saw it in a blog post or something like that, come to our docs and you'll be able to find information about that. So one of my favorite things that we do is different output formats. So if I want to list my VMs, and let's say I don't know exactly how to do that. Okay, I'll see. Okay, here's a command. It's called list. So now I'll azvm list. But let's say I don't want, the default is JSON, and I don't want all of this JSON. I just want to know my VM IDs, let's say. I can query using James path over all of my, actually, guys, I'm going to help us out here and clear this. But I can query over all of my VMs returned and just see the IDs of those VMs. And then if I want those in a table format, I can output them as a table. Let's say instead, because that's really big stuff, but I'm going to maybe pipe this to some other command. You know, I'm going to pass this into another command in the CLI, and I just want the ID. What I'll probably use is a TSV format, and I'm just going to get the 0th element out of that query. So now we just have the ID, and as you might expect, and then, you know, assign this to a variable if I'd like. Right, so now I can use this VM ID that I got from my query command later on. And, you know, it's just going to be, oops, apparently I can't type. But now I can pass this as an ID to my other commands. And so if you ever want to use something or pipe something, TSV is probably going to be the output that you're going to use. But if you want, you can also query over almost everything. And I didn't do any advanced queries this time, but again, you can always go to our docs. First of all, check out some of the other query formats. So we have like color JSON and things like that. But the query, we show some a little more advanced queries here. So from the VM that I'm getting, I want to get the storage profile property from that VM object that's returned. And then I want an array with 2 different sub-properties of that storage profile property. You can also do a very similar thing if you want to grab objects. So this does the exact same thing, except it kind of does a map over the storage profile onto an object here. And if this was a list, you could actually get a list of the offer and size of every single VM that you list. Does anyone want to make any comments there that I may have left out for query or output formats? Cool. And then the last thing I wanted to show real quick before I start handing it off is configuration settings. Again, this is one of those things where maybe I don't do this very often, but I know that I've heard of it before. You can always come to our docs to find out how to do these things if you want to start leveraging some of the features that you've heard about. So, for example, a lot of commands require group. So if we look at azvm create and scroll up here, we'll see that group is required. But if I don't want to supply that group every time, I can actually set a default here. So az configure -- defaults, and then I'll just say group my resource group. So I could come over here, say az configure -- defaults. I'll tab that and I'll say group equals, and I know this is my group name, except again, I am incapable of typing apparently. And now when I make create command and things like that, this group will be used by default. So we've got a lot of cool features. We have a few more things that we're going to talk about today that are kind of newer, but I wanted to show some of the base features of how the CLI works. Rooms over on campus, is there anything else you want me to show before we move on?
Yeah, everything looks good.
Cool. Okay, so I am going to go back to my regular video feed here, and then I'm also going to go back to my notes so that I do everything in order and don't freak people out. I think it looks like Yugong is up first. So Yugong, if you want to either log in or take over Ernest's machine, Yugang is going to talk a little bit about the VM create and VM image list features that are somewhat newish.
So I will take over Ernest's session, so I will just start the demo. So the reason we pick image list is just not, it's probably this is one of the overall effort. We want to simplify the CLI experience overall. So to make sure people can quickly get started up on Azure and through Azure CLI. So remember, image list is just one of such examples. So if you explore all other CLI, you will find out all the commands more or less have the same effort. Try to simplify the experience by bridging the gap between the API and the real user world. In the short term, in the simplified term, it's just to make sure the command fits user's mental model. Okay, so now I'm getting back to the real context. It's about image list. So in CLI 1.0, the people's major feedback is find the image is so hard, but the image is so important for them because every VM needs to have an operating system. Okay, so now the API status is you find the image, you will start with find the publish. Then from publish, you find the offer. From offer, you find the skill. Then from the skill, you find the versions, which didn't make too much sense because some people said, I want to create a Windows. Why I need to search a publisher? I know the publisher is Microsoft. But either way, the API is like that. So we do some other kind of work to simplify it. So basically, so I will start with real command. So if you only type the VM image list, oh, you know what? Okay. So let me switch to the table output field. Yes. So I will gradually talk about. Sorry. So I will start to add more and more context to explain clearly of what's the overall effort. So can I make the font a little bit smaller? Yeah, small. Yeah. Okay, so yeah. Yeah, so I want to make the table output looks good. So can you shrink the size? Yeah. Okay, so that's enough, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
We can still read it, so that looks good.
Yeah, but I really hope the table automatic image looks good. Okay, you can clearly tell. So here is a way kind of first effort we do it. We want to catch the most important images, probably 70-80% user they will use it. We catch that in a file. So you don't need to care where it comes from, but we will put the most stable images in, which is for Windows, let's say the mainline operating system. Then for the Linux, we coming from the most stable versions. So now we introduce a kind of CLI specific concept. It's called UIN. Basically, we put the publisher of skill and version together, so you can use one value to easily fit into the VM. Now, great. So let's say it's all. So I just hypothetically type out this command, but it should work. Right. So now, yeah. So because it's working all the time. So okay. So now I just copy this one. Okay. Yeah. So that's it. So okay. So let me move the window up a little bit. Okay, yes. So if you type this simple one, you will create a CentOS and a VM. Okay, so now and we even simplified further because we know is this document. So we know this alias. So you can just set CentOS. So is that one? It will work as well. Okay. So now then maybe some people said, okay, I know this one, but I don't like the specific version 7.3. Then I want to use others. Okay, so it will also offer you the chance or the capacity. You can search live. Okay. So now you can see, so I tried ADVM image list. So all you need to do is you just go set is --all, then it will search through the Azure's image gallery. You can find everything you want. Last time I tried, there are 7,900 images. You can just bring everything down. But of course, for you to have a more purpose, you will know that this true name, yes, is we offer some flags. You can do filtering. That will make the life easier. Particularly, you can get those lists within 10 or 15 seconds. So let's say it's for the sentence, or I need to. So first, I just specify publish. Yeah, I mean, actually, the partial name is all fine. So I mean, so you can just say it's offer. So I mean, I'm a sentence, right? So yeah, so now if I list it, then we will bring down all the live images currently in the marketplace. So let's see, yeah, it should just work. So it will take about 10 seconds. Also, okay, yeah. See, so now is we are pulling everything. I'm from the live. I'm from the live server. So again, I mean, you can just use this.
Yep.
Okay, so now so you send is easy VM create. So yes. Oh, sorry for typo. Okay, so that should do it. But
Yeah.
of course, it's sometimes you want to say, okay, I don't want to remember individual versions. So we will also support you can type this latest. So now is we will do also basically CLI will analyze the publish skill and this latest, find the latest version for you. So now is in CLI 1.0, you need to go through, let's say, 6 or 7 steps. Let's say first you list publish, you search it. Then you publish, you find the offering, then search it. From the offering, then you find the skill, then the version. Now every one single command can get you everything. So now is people just said, okay, so URN seems like it's very CLI things. But I would say don't worry about it. Most time you don't need to type it because all the image command, all the VM command, or VM asset command will take this same URN. I'm just fine. Okay, so now is for example, I mean for so if we search all the images command, so let's say is I want to say AZ VM image show, which sorry for typo. So you can just set URN. So if this will show everything. No, not everything. Actually, it's image sometimes they have too many things. But my point of view is this URN. You can use it across all the image, all the CLI is widgets. So this one, we have a very cohesive, consistent experience across. So you just know it, then you can just live with CLI forever.
Cool.
So, yeah. So now I think, so then of course the last thing is VMSS. We also take exactly the same thing. So just like I will go through the sorry. So, okay, yeah. So basically just now I type VM create, right? So I use an image. So of course, I mean, so for VMSS, it's also takes exactly the same images. So information just say VMS create. So that's it. I think I'm done with my demo.
Awesome. Thank you, Yugang.
Sure, you're welcome.
Yeah, that makes life way easier. I remember the first time I listed all of them and I was like, oh, I've made a huge mistake. Cool. So I think I might call an audible here because Derek, you have 2 stuff, but I split it up. So Willie, would you mind going next?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, cool. So let's have Willie go, and then we'll have Derek, and then we'll have Ernest. How's that sound?
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
Awesome. All right. So Willie, you're up.
Yes.
I think you're going to talk to us about interactive. So as you're getting set up, what is interactive?
Basically there to give users a better experience, right? So if someone wanted sort of completers while using a Windows CMD terminal, they could use interactive and have that experience. In interactive, our goal is basically to make people's lives as easy as possible while interacting with our CLI and with Azure services. So actually, Aaron, can you share my screen?
I can. There you go. That should be, you should be the main video feed now.
Are you?
or at least, sorry, I can confirm that you are. So when I'm also looking at the feed right now, and it's on you.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Okay. So let's sort of just get started. So in our CLI, we have a command called AZ Interactive.
Okay, so we can't see your screen, Willie.
Oh, I can see it.
Okay, you can. Okay.
We can see it too, or
Okay.
I can see it.
Awesome. Okay. So currently I'm in interactive mode, and right on the startup, we can see sort of some basic things that are available in interactive. So you can run commands outside of interactive mode using the hashtag. So let's say something like ls. You can use that. You can also sort of get at the exit code. So if you're running any Azure command and you were sort of curious whether it worked or not, you can use the $ and get at the exit code. Let's jump right into what the sort of experience is. So say I was working with storage and I wanted to sort of list all my storage accounts, right? I can type storage. You can see that that's automatically being completed for me. As I'm typing, we sort of see summaries for the command or command group that we are in. So here you see manage Azure Cloud Storage Resources. I'll keep typing out my command, and that gets updated as I'm typing. Let's go straight ahead and sort of list our commands. And as you can see, Interactive keeps a history of what you type. So before this, I had already run the AZ storage account list with the query. So I'm going to do the same thing, and I'm only going to get at the IDs, right? So these are all the IDs of all the storage accounts that I have in my subscription. Something else that's pretty cool is we have a way to use the results of your last command and sort of pipe it back into whatever command you're using. So for instance, let's see. I can do something like this, right? So storage account show -- IDs, and I can just get at the first ID of my last command. So I'll do that. That's my full storage account information for this account.
Willie, quick question.
Yeah.
Does the double question mark operator,
Mm-hmm.
Does that basically take a query, like a James Path query right after it?
Yes, it does.
Cool.
So yeah, the bracket 0 close bracket is the James Path query for your last command.
Cool.
Cool. So let me show you guys what the completers look like. So let's go ahead and try to create an account. So storage account create. As soon as I finish typing out my command, I automatically see all the parameters available to me. I can sort of tab and scroll down and see what I have available. I'm gonna specify the resource group. And so here you have all the resource groups available in my subscription at the moment. Let's just use, I don't know, my really cool VM --SKU. This gives me the enum options available for my SKU. Let's create a standard LRS account. And what else do I have? I need to specify a name, right? So let's go my new account. I can run my command. It seems like that command name is already taken. So let's just add some numbers to it. And
have I told you guys about like literally the sheer number of times I've done a demo and made my VM password too short? It happens literally every time. Literally every time.
Yeah. Cool. So yeah, it looks like this is working and it's completed. So I have my new storage account. It's called my new account 1234. So yeah, those are sort of like some of the basic things you can do in interactive. The real sort of like way to experience this is just to use interactive. So as you're typing out any commands that you've used previously, or the goal is that you should sort of have a better experience, right? You'll see the completers, you'll see your history there for you if you want to use it. Overall, trying to just make things easier for users.
Awesome. One thing to note here, some of the live viewers and people on YouTube viewing later, is that we ask a question about this in the survey. So if you've taken the survey or if you plan on taking the survey, let us know kind of where these things stack up for you and the types of things you'd like to see. And we'd love to get your feedback on where we should make our future investments. Okay, cool. So now I'm going to go over to Derek. Derek, it looks like you're going to start us off with profile support, and then you're on to an extension introduction, which I think is more of a, just talking about what extensions are, et cetera. And then we'll hand it over to Ernest to show the alias extension.
Yeah, cool. So can you guys see the screen?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So yeah, there are two demos I'm going to give. The first one's on profiles. I'll give a quick background to profiles. So Azure actually has multiple clouds. So most of you might be familiar with public Azure, which is the one that most people would just connect to. But Azure also has clouds in Germany, in China, and also Azure Stack. And Azure Stack is essentially like your own instance of Azure that you can host in your own data center or just wherever you want, essentially. And the CLI, to really support that story, the CLI is consistent with that. So it works across all of those clouds. So if I just come into my terminal, I'll run AZ cloud list. Actually, and let me do that in the table format. So you can see the different clouds in the CLI. So the ones that come with it are Azure Cloud, Azure China, there's US government, and also Azure German Cloud. And you can actually see here that I've actually already just changed one of the profiles to say 2017-03-09 profile. And these profiles, essentially what they are is they are groups of API versions for different services inside of Azure. So a profile would have a group of APIs, a group of API versions assigned with it. And then you can essentially use that to interact with the different services with different APIs. So just to give you a quick demo of how to use this. So if I was targeting public Azure and I wanted to change my profile, so by default, it would be already set to latest, but let me just switch back to it. So that was just a really quick change. But what that really enables you to do is that now the CLI will be aware of that profile for any of the commands that you run. So the things that you see will be dependent on whether they are available in that profile or not. So what I'm actually going to demo is AZ account create. I'm just showing the help for that. You can see these are, this is the command description. These are the arguments. And there's also an argument for the network rules. So these are different types of rules that you can apply on the storage account. And these are available on the latest API profile. So now in the same CLI, what I can do is I can actually switch back to an older profile. And then I'll run that same command, AZ storage account create -h. And you'll see that now that group of arguments has disappeared. And that's because the API version that's available in that profile doesn't support those set of features. So now if you created a storage account, you just essentially behave exactly as it would before it, except you don't get access to those kind of features. So now just to switch to the docs. So as Aaron was mentioning, we document a lot of these things on our docs page. So we actually have a doc for managing multiple clouds. So this just gives you an overview of kind of what I just went through of listing your clouds, showing the information about the clouds for the different endpoints, and also switching to different clouds. And there is a note here for a section on Azure Stack. So if I just click on that, it'll actually take me to the instructions to get the CLI working with Azure Stack. So all you have to do is really just set AZ Cloud Register, just set a few endpoints for your Stack instances. And then, yeah, this is the step I was looking for, AZ Cloud Update. You can just set the profile to the profile that we have. And then you essentially just be able to log in and then interact with that Azure Cloud or that Azure Stack instance, just as if you're targeting Azure Public.
Cool.
Cool. All right. So now switching topics to extensions. So extensions are something that are fairly new inside of the CLI. But over the past few months, we've been having more and more extensions being added to the list. Extensions are basically a way for essentially anyone actually to extend the CLI to add different sets of commands. We use this for the different Azure service teams, especially for things like previews that are coming out, experiments that different teams want to try out. They can just easily give it to customers and get feedback. So the commands for extensions are under the AZ extension group. So if I do help on that, you'll see the commands that are available. You can add an extension. You can list the extensions currently on your machine. You can list all the available extensions that you can install, and then just remove, show information on them, and also update an extension. So let's take a look at the extensions that are available. Let me make the terminal. Okay, so we actually have a decent list of extensions here. A lot of them have been provided by different teams inside of Microsoft. Some of them are previews, and some of them are more long-term for things like IoT. So IoT provide a lot of their more IoT-specific commands through the CLI as an extension that you can just install on demand. So let's say I wanted to install actually I'll do the image copy extension. So I just take that name. I can see that it is not installed right now, so I'll just do AZ extension add, specify the name. And then now this will just pull down the extension and install it onto my machine. So now I have that extension. And this is an extension that allows you to copy VM images from different regions inside of Azure. So that extension exposes a command, which would be inside of here. So if we just go to image copy, and then I run -h on that, you can see this command is from the following extension, which is the extension I just installed. So now you can just go ahead and use it just like any other regular CLI command. And you can actually just keep it on your machine as you want. But let's say I wanted to remove the extension now. I would just have to do AZ extension remove, specify the same thing, and you get tab completion on the extensions you currently have.
Cool.
And then now when I run AZ image copy, you can see that that command is not available anymore.
So Derek, say that you know, I'm part of the IT organization in a company, and basically when we create VMs, we want to always have certain settings. So we always want to use the same version of CentOS, and we always want to use the same NSG or something like that. And so I decide to build an extension. Is there any way that I can build an extension that's like specific to my company and then just share it with people in my company?
Yeah, so extensions are just Python wheels, and wheels are the main distribution mechanism for Python packages. So all you would have to do is you would create your extension, build a wheel for it, and then you can just give that wheel to whoever you want to install. So the way that would
share or something like that.
Yeah. So you just do AZ extension add, and if we take a look at the help for that, there's a source option rather than name. You can just specify a source, so that can be a local file path or a URL that has your extension.
Cool.
And then anyone can get it that way. And we have a few examples of a few different ways of getting extensions as well.
Yeah. Okay. Very nice. Yeah. So you know, if maybe I don't want a private extension, but I build an extension, I throw it up on GitHub, I can put the releases on GitHub as a, you know, tagged release, and just, you know, people can install my extension by pointing at that wheel file.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yes. And then there was just one more thing to demo for extensions, is that once again, back to the doc page that Aaron was referring to, we have a lot of documentation on there, so it's a great place to look. We have documentation also for extensions. So if you take a look at the left-hand side, I'll click on the image copy extension. And you can see that I get all the help as I would a normal command inside of the CLI. So I can see exactly what this image copy extension does. I can see examples, and I can also see the parameters that I can pass in for the extension.
Awesome. Can I install, I'm assuming that in Cloud Shell, there are no extensions installed, or maybe not the ones I want. Can I install extensions in Cloud Shell?
So extensions do actually work in Cloud Shell as well. They would work exactly like they would that I showed locally.
Cool.
So you can essentially just run the same commands inside of Cloud Shell, and you get exactly the same experience there.
Awesome.
Cool.
Cool. Okay, so I think Derek just showed us what extensions are, what the philosophy is there, and what they're for. Ernest has been working with us, and I always love to be able to have interns present at our community stand-ups. But Ernest is going to show the Alia extension that he built.
Yeah. So today I'm gonna present my alias extensions that I've been working on for the past few months. Can you guys see my screen?
Yep.
So as Derek mentioned, alias currently is available as an extension. So if you go to AZ extension list available, you can see that it is available as an extension and is currently in preview right now. And to install the extension, simply type AZ extension @-name alias, and I already installed it. So the concept of alias is basically Azure CLI has been growing bigger and bigger. So that means that commands and parameters are getting longer and longer. So alias is basically extension that provides a way to shorten commands so that our customers can have a lot more productivity when using Azure CLI. So currently, alias has a couple commands that are available, and if you type az alias-x, you can see all the commands. So we have create commands, export, import lists, remove, and remove all. And first of all, I'm gonna talk about the alias az alias create. So az alias create basically create an alias in the Azure CLI locally. So let's say you want to create an alias for commands like group or list, because those two words are the most frequently used. Simply type az alias create, the name of the alias, which is the alias that you would type in the terminal. So for example, in this case, I'll have group as rg and the command as group. And after you create it, you can simply just invoke azrg, and it will behave the same as group. So as you can see here, I invoke azrg-h, and it's behaving the same as Azure az group help. And another use case for alias is to compress a very long command into a single word or a single alias. So in this example, we have I'm creating an alias called list VM, and in alias you can also add optional. You can also add positional argument, which basically takes in an argument and substitute that argument into your desired command. So for example, in this case, I have an argument called resource group, which is basically this alias basically lists all the VM in a given resource group. And as you can see here, the alias name is list VM, the argument name. And in the command, we'll have the actual Azure CLI command along with the argument, as you can see here. So here, when I create this alias and I type az list VM and -t, this is my resource group. Will show all the VMs that I have in my resource group. Last but not least, I also want to talk about briefly talk about the template engine that I integrate with Alias. So currently, Alias is using a template engine called Jinja 2, which is it's called Jinja. Basically, allows us to performs additional string processings. So, for example, in this case, I have alias called storage ls, which basically lists all the blobs in a given storage container. But normally, if we want to list all the blobs in a given storage container, we'll have to type in the account named and the container named, a lot of stuff that is really verbose. So this alias basically allows me to pass in a URL of the storage container, and basically from that URL, display all the blobs inside. So as you can see here, in addition to the arguments that I have mentioned in the previous example, I also have some string processing going on here. The language is very intuitive, is very easy to learn. And as you can see here, I'm basically doing some string processing to extract the account name and the container name from the URL. So if I create this alias and have a URL, will behave the same as listing all the blobs.
Cool.
And in addition to all the alias, it also supports tab auto completion in Bash. So you can see here, alias is basically Azure CLI basically treat all the registered alias as part of the command. So tab completion will work perfectly with alias in Bash.
Awesome. If I have like 6 machines, do I have to add these aliases to all of the machines?
No. So currently, Alias also supports importing and exporting alias configuration file. So basically, all these when you register an alias in your machine is basically only effective for your local machines. But what you can do is export a alias configuration file from your local machines, and you can share that file to anyone you want. And after receiving that file, you can invoke the alias import command. So
Cool.
you can basically have a file that you can share across organization, for example. And people inside of organizations can simply run az alias import and that file to import all the alias, instead of just invoking az alias create for all your alias.
I know I like to use .file repos. I don't know if any of you guys do that, but this is a perfect way to export it, throw it in your .file repo, and then if you're building out a new machine, you can just az alias import and then a URL to that ini file in the .file repo, and you're good to go.
Yeah. So yeah, alias import supports local file and URL.
Cool.
Mention. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Ernest. Okay, cool. So I think we're getting close to the end. We're going to talk a little bit about future stuff. It looks like Travis isn't here, so I'll probably skip over that one. Ernest, you've got one more thing that you're working on before you got to head out. What is that?
Yeah. So one thing that I worked on after Alias is the.
Oh, you got a demo even?
Oh yeah.
Cool.
Improvement on the error message. So currently, let's see. I'm gonna switch my screen. Yeah. Okay. So I'm just gonna use Cloud Shell as example because.
Cool.
So right now, a lot of people have been complaining when they have one little typo when they're typing an Azure CLI command, everything just gone wrong, and it doesn't tell you what's wrong. So for example, if if I'm using a storage command and misspell storage, so I have like storage account create, for example, it'll just throw this entire error message, and a lot of people just don't get what these are.
Yeah, they also feel the candidate list is so long that you find which one is the good.
Yeah. So so we took a look at this and came up with an idea that why don't we just suggest a potential existing Azure CLI commands that might be the word you want to type.
Yeah.
So here, this is the Azure CLI. And right here, I'm just going to invoke the same commands as I did in the Cloud Shells. Create. But in this instant, we have cleaned up the error message. So we have stated that this word is not an AZ command. So first, we suggest user to go check out the help first. And then if there's a similar match comparing your typo to one of our existing AZ commands, we'll suggest it to the users. So this way we can not only improving the user experience for the for the Azure CLI, but also decrease the number of typos and just makes the user experience a lot better.
Yeah, I use it a couple of times. Most time, the most similar command that pop up is exactly what I meant to type. So this matching is really good.
Yeah. So another example can be AZDL, and if there's multiple suggestions, it'll also print it out. But if you have some very extreme typo, like just random words, it won't display any suggestions. So this is I've been working on this after my alias, and I've received a lot of good feedback for it. So really excited about this feature.
Now, Ernest, is this going to be an extension?
Oh, this is not an extension. This this is part of the Azure CLI core, and
Very good. All right, cool. So I think that was everything. Did anyone else want to bring anything up before we close out? It looks like we don't have any questions. But a few more people have filled out the survey during the stand-up. So anything else that we want to mention before we head out for this episode? Yeah. Okay, cool. So everyone wave bye, make a sound so that your video comes up.
Bye.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks.